So, what you just witnessed was how I imagine an idealized version of a financially independent, simple life to look like. It's quite a nice morning in my opinion, but that, of course, is not how my mornings currently look. I don't want to mislead anyone into thinking that's my typical morning routine, but it is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I have a lot to share with you guys in this video, and I hope that you find at least some of it useful, valuable, thought-provoking, or at least entertaining. And you know what? I appreciate you being here. I know that's something I generally say at the end of a video, but why not the beginning? I appreciate you, you know? Oh, and if you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I'm hiking to the top of my ski hill in my hometown. In the summer, you can walk to the top and there's a really nice view from the top of it. So, headed up there. Maybe one day I'll make a video of what it was like to grow up in a really small town. In hindsight, it's a pretty interesting experience. But for now, let's talk about financial independence and a simple life. A lot of the time, I like to make a video where there's something that I have knowledge of that I can share with you that I believe will benefit you. Like, for example, how to step-by-step buy an index fund. That is explicitly useful. But sometimes, as I feel maybe a writer might do, I like to make something that helps me think. Something where I'm kind of thinking out loud, I guess you could say. And my hope is that by me thinking through something in this kind of format, it can also be of use to you in a different way. I've been noticing that I've been doing this more lately, this thinking out loud in my videos. And I think part of that is because I feel as though I'm entering into a new stage in my life. And it's kind of freaking me out a little bit, to be honest. And I'm curious if any of you feel a similar way, especially as we all begin to emerge from this pandemic together and try and finally put this behind us.
My journey to financial independence has brought with it an immense amount of self-reflection. And that reflection has ultimately led me towards a question. A question that I frustratingly, maddeningly can't answer. A question about happiness. Why does it always seem like a destination that never actually arrives? I was confronted by this when I sat down for something that I wanted to do for a very long time, a tasting menu dinner. I don't really have a lot of experience with fine dining, I guess you could say. I've always lived pretty frugally. Don't get me wrong, I love to cook and I love to learn about food, but I've never really had the opportunity to do something like this before. So, I kind of thought, you know what, Steve, you've been working really hard and you've made things happen, so maybe it's time why don't you treat yourself to something nice a little bit? But after having it, I felt kind of strange. We had just eaten 6 courses of beautifully prepared food in a really cool environment with really cool people working there. But I wondered to myself after it was done, did I really feel any different than if I had just hit up one of my favorite spots in Chinatown? Shout out Dumpling House, great dumplings. Honestly, I didn't feel any different, and that wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting, this dinner to feel more impactful in a way, because after all, I had spent good money on it, And that right there was a lesson. This was something that I had thought that I already knew, but after experiencing this kind of fine dining dinner, it really just clicked for me. And that's that spending more money on something does not automatically make it greater in any way. The relationship between money and happiness is complex. Why are there so many hyper wealthy individuals who just seem to be some of the most unhappy people on earth? Thinking about all this, it really just brought me full circle back to where my journey of financial independence began. The desire to live a simple life.
Another part of my hometown that I'm very fond of besides the ski hill is our blueberry season. If you've only been eating store-bought blueberries, my friend, let me tell you, you've really been missing out. These are something else. I think it's kind of interesting that wanting to live a simple life was the reason that I pursued financial independence in the first place, but it's also what actually sustains the journey to financial independence. By creating more than what I consume in society, my wealth will build as a consequence. But I think so too does my happiness. I want to understand how things work. Like, in general, if I look at something like a blueberry pie, I want to understand the full picture. I want to see and actually pick the blueberries myself so that I can understand the full circle of what a blueberry pie actually is. My dad and I actually just tried brewing our first batch of beer this week for that reason. I wanted to understand one of humanity's most ancient foods, and so I felt compelled to try and make it myself. I'll keep you posted on how that goes. Oh, and by the way, if you live in the Toronto area and you're either a brewer or you're really knowledgeable about beer, send me a DM or an email. I want to get in touch with you about a future project.
Wait, look at this.
What is that?
It's a cocoon.
A cocoon?
And they broke out and they hatched.
Look at that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Part of the reason I want to understand how things work is because I want to know what exactly is consumed when something is made. When I pick a blueberry, for example, I know exactly what I've picked and from where. So then when I use it into something like a blueberry pie, I have a better picture of the relationship between that blueberry and the blueberry pie. And this in turn, I believe, hopefully will lead to a better relationship between myself and nature, which is kind of a funny thing to say, having a relationship with nature, because in reality, we are nature. So it's more of like a relationship with ourselves, I suppose. I grew up with these blueberry bushes in my backyard, so perhaps that makes me extra susceptible to the beautiful words of Robin in Braiding Sweetgrass, which is a book that I talked about in my previous video. But her way of speaking about the reciprocity of humans and the earth is something that I want to at least try and follow on my journey to financial independence, and to continue to refine what it means to live a simple life. What does it mean to live a good life? What does it mean to live well? I, of course, don't have all the answers quite yet. But as I wander along the blueberry bushes, I can try and abide by a small piece of what Robin calls the honorable harvest. Never take the first bush you see, and never take the last. This way, I hope these blueberry bushes can help shape someone else as much as I think that they've shaped me. It may be simple, but after all, that's the life I'm trying to lead.